Let's pause for a minute to talk about Anchor by Spotify. Anchor is an easy to use, one stop shop to create and host your podcast. When we started making Sleeping with the Numbers, we used other hosts first that forced us to manually upload to Apple Music, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. But with Anchor, you simply upload to a single spot and it distributes it automatically to all of these locations. But that isn't all. With Anchor, you can easily record, edit, and even add music directly from Spotify to your podcast to make it sound even better. So if you've been waiting around to create a podcast, wait no longer, because Anchor by Spotify makes it extremely easy to do. Anchor is completely free and can be used by downloading the mobile app on iOS or Android, or even right from their website, anchor.fm. Make an account today and get podcasting.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Hey everyone, welcome into another Sleeping with the Numbers fantasy podcast. Pat and Dylan here. As usual, we're going to be going over some Reddit questions. Start off with a question of the day. And we forgot it last week, but we're going to be doing some head-to-head DFS lineups again on DraftKings. So to kick it off, so a lot of teams on bye this week, and you might have to be streaming a quarterback. And, of course, not all of these quarterbacks are going to be available, so you need to take a chance on someone. So the question is, Pat, what quarterback out of Fantasy Pros top 12 are you most comfortable starting? And I'll read off the top 12 just so people know. So Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Dak, Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Jalen Hurts, and Carson Wentz. So outside of those guys, who are you most comfortable starting this week?
Honestly, this is probably a low-key pick, but I think Ben's due for a really good game. I think the Lions suck, and I think that's my only logic behind this pick, because outside of that, everybody else I don't trust. Like, my next choice would probably be, everyone wants to ride the Mike White train. He's going to get smoked by Buffalo. Mac Jones has a potential to have a good game, but I think outside of the top 12, I think Ben's due for a good game against a really bad team. And I don't think he's going to have the highest amount of points of this group. But I'd say, if you want somebody guaranteed to get you at least 20 fantasy points, it's going to be Ben, because I don't see Taylor Heineke doing it. I don't know if Teddy can do it. Mac could do it. Really, outside of that, I don't see anybody with a good enough matchup to trust.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Matt Ryan here, mostly because I like to target these high over-under type games, and this is the highest of the week. It's at 55 points. I don't think Dallas's defense is that great. They're allowing the sixth most fantasy points to the quarterback position. Even with Diggs having a fantastic game, he can't cover everyone. So I think Matt Ryan, in order to stay competitive in this game, he's going to have to be passing the ball. So I expect Pitts to have a good game. And then, of course, Cordero Patterson, who gets a lot of work in the passing game as well. So I think he's going to need to throw it. And it's really, another thing is they're not great at rushing the ball. Even though they have the third most points in for the running back position, it's not through rushing. It's just because Cordero Patterson gets the ball in the passing game and runs it 30 yards into the end zone. So I think Matty Ice will have a decent game against Dallas if you're looking for a streamer this week. Let's pop it over to DraftKings, Pat. We forgot it last week, and of course we did, because the week before that was the only one I've won head-to-head. So that's probably why we forgot it.
It was a blowout.
Yeah, it was good. But we're back again this week, gonna get into making these lineups as usual, head-to-head, just the Sunday night, the main slate of games we're going to do. So the ones from 1 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Eastern, those are the games that are going to be included in here. And we'll go position by position, and I'm going to kick it off with the quarterback that is on the opposite of the streamer I just talked about. I'm going to go with Dak Prescott. So there is some worry here about the injury. Completely understand that. Dallas looked bad last game against Denver, but I also think that Denver's defense is pretty formidable. Atlanta's defense is not. And even though Dallas as a whole did very poorly, Dak still got 19.9 points. He threw for 2 passing touchdowns. He would have broken 20 if he didn't throw an interception. He attempted 39 passes, only completed 19 of them. That's not the normal for Dak. So week 9 was very weird around the board. It wasn't just the Dallas game against Denver. It was across the board, just strange. And I think he's going to bounce back this week at $6,900. That's the same as he was last week. I'm willing to take a shot on him on this high-scoring game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm going to take the quarterback with the best matchup and spend a little bit more. I'm going to take Josh Allen for $7,900. I don't think the Jets are going to keep it close. I think Josh Allen should smoke them up front. Every time I've said that, he hasn't, but this is the time. So I'm going to take Josh Allen, spend my money in the quarterback position.
Yeah, I like that. Again, kind of the same logic. There should be a bounce back there. We talked about it in the last episode where every time the Bills have lost, they've come back stronger. And that's probably what we can expect here. For the running back position, I'm going to go with our hometown guy, Najee Harris, taking on Detroit at home. Detroit is giving up the most points to fantasy running backs, and I expect nothing less out of Najee here. We need to stop giving Benny Snell and Kalen Ballage snaps. That is my note for this. They should never touch the ball with a healthy Najee Harris. Either way, Najee should have a fantastic game in this super easy matchup. And if Pittsburgh gets ahead, which we don't do often, but if we do, we'll just coast with the running game and run out the clock. The second running back, I'm going to go, and this is assuming Nick Chubb is out, but I'm going to go with D'Ernest Johnson. Like we talked about in the previous episode, the Browns' running game is incredible. It doesn't matter who is back there. They're going to get work. They're likely going to get a touchdown. Now, the Patriots have a stout defense. It is kind of worrying, but they're still giving up the 8th most fantasy points to fantasy running backs. And with Cleveland being as good as they are running, with Cleveland being as good as they are running, whoever that running back is, they're going to have a great game. I'm assuming it's D'Ernest at the moment, but if that's not the case, my lineup will change, and I'll be sure to post it if I do make that change.
Yeah, I think those are both smart. I'm kind of mad that you said D'Ernest Johnson because I was going to take him, and now I got to re-strategize. So for my first running back, I'm going to take Cordell Patterson because why wouldn't I? He's gotten more than 15 points basically every week but week 1. And then my number 2 is going to be Javonte Williams. I think the Eagles suck, and he's been decent the past weeks. He's gotten 17, 6.8, and 14. He seems to be every other game he does well, but I think the Eagles are bad enough that he could potentially get at least over 10 for me, and I don't have that much money for running backs left, so I'm just going to take him.
What am I going to do here? For my wide receiver position, this is also going to depend on the quarterback situation, but if Aaron Rodgers is back, I think it's very hard for me to pass up on Davante Adams at $7,900. That is the cheapest he's been all season. The only other time he was at $7,900 was in week 4 against Pittsburgh. So I'm going to be taking him here against Seattle if Aaron Rodgers is back. Again, that connection is, what do you expect? He's targeted early and often. He gets touchdowns like no other. I think that's an easy pick for me here. Second wide receiver, what am I going to do? I am going to complete the stack with for the Cowboys, and I'm going to actually put in Amari Cooper. Looking at his injury status, he practiced in a limited fashion on Wednesday. That's usually good enough for a veteran. He's only $6,200, where CeeDee Lamb, they're performing at about the same, but CeeDee Lamb is $7,000. Cooper here at $6,200. I'm going to take the cheaper wide receiver here because I think they can perform at about the same level. And then my final wide receiver, at least in the wide receiver position, I'm going to go on the other side of the ball and take Russell Gage, $5,000. Russell Gage is now somehow the wide receiver 1 on the Atlanta Falcons. Last week, he got 13.4 points, 7 receptions, 64 yards off of 8 targets. So I expect there to be a lot of passing in this game on both sides of the ball. So I'll take a cheap wide receiver here to fill it out with Russell Gage.
You keep making me have to change my players last second. Just filled in Russell Gage. Nope, we're not doing that. So
Free country.
What's that?
I said it's a free country. You can take them.
No, it's not. So we're not going to get into that. My wide receivers, now that I have to revamp them, I'm going to take Stephon Diggs because I'm going to do the stack with Josh.
Ooh.
Because Cole Beasley or something like that would be a good backup option, but he's hurt, and Emmanuel Sanders has been cold lately, so I'm not going to risk it. Michael Pittman should get a lot of work against the Jaguars, and he's been super hot, so I'm going to take him. And then my replacement for Russell Gage is going to be Khalif Raymond because we've seen that the Steelers' defense stinks in pass coverage, and Detroit should be throwing the ball a lot. So it says Raymond was targeted once, and he did not record a catch. He's going to have 20 catches this game. That's usually how this game script goes. So he's going to have a big game against the Steelers for whatever reason.
Yeah, that is usually how it goes with the Steelers. Tight end position, I am gonna. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna. You know what? I'll double stack it here for the Steelers. Give me Pat Freiermuth. He's been on fire lately with Eric Ebron out. Got 6 targets on Monday, caught 5 of them for 2 touchdowns. Somehow. Oh, actually, we know how, right? Because DraftKings puts out their salaries for their players Monday before that Monday Night Football game happened. So last week, Freiermuth was $4,300. This week he's $3,900. So again, to save some salary to spend it elsewhere, I'm gonna take Pat Freiermuth here at the tight end.
Very fair. I had a similar strategy. Didn't want to take Pat, so I went low, and I got Hunter Henry because Jonnu Smith left the game last week, and I would expect New England need to throw the ball a little bit more. If Damian Harris doesn't play, then Hunter Henry should get a lot of targets.
Then for my final skill position, I'm going to go with Adrian Peterson. He's only $4,900. He didn't look great last week, but he was the goal line back. And that's really all I expect out of him. If I get a touchdown out of Adrian Peterson, I'm going to be pretty happy. Last week, let's see, he wasn't really involved in the passing game at all. And sadly, DraftKings is full point PPR, but he should be still the early down running back in Tennessee.
Yeah, I think that's super smart. And I was looking at him as well. So honestly, now I'm torn because I had a different position player picked. I originally had Eno Benjamin, and then I really thought about it. And I said, James Conner's not in Pittsburgh anymore, so he's actually a good running back. Because I was assuming that James Conner was either going to get hurt or not do well, and Eno is going to score touchdowns, right? But now that I saved some money, mixing people around, I'm going to take Donovan Peoples-Jones, even though I hate him because he was so hit or miss. In the past 3 games he's played, he's gotten over 10 points. And I expect if the Browns don't have Nick Chubb, that they should be throwing the ball a little bit more. So I think he should at least have an opportunity to score. And just to go and skip over to my defense real quick, I'm just going to take the Packers because why not? I think it's going to be a defensive battle against the Seahawks, and they're going to need to play good defense, and I think they have a good matchup to do so.
Yeah, I was between them and this defense that I took. I took the Tennessee Titans against New Orleans. New Orleans is either really good or really bad. I'm just going to expect them to be really bad this week, especially if Kamara doesn't play. I think they'll be able to smack them around a bit. Let's hop over to Reddit, get some questions out of here. We're going to start with league issues questions. A lot of these are kind of similar, Pat, but it paints a picture of a theme that I really want to hit home for how to run a fantasy league. So starting with this one, traded for Godwin today, then injury news broke. It's really not a ton of injury news. He just didn't practice today. There's worry that he doesn't play, but there's still 2 more days for it to actually matter. Wednesday practice doesn't matter at all. Most veterans just take it off. So either way, traded for Godwin today, injury news broke. I'm typically very anti-veto, but this league has vetoes. Is this an appropriate situation for a veto? No, it's not. There's almost never a right situation to veto. The only time to do it is if there is clear collusion. Buyer beware. You know, that's really all it comes down to, Pat. You agree?
100%.
Yeah, it's not like another owner knew they're like, Chris Godwin's not going to play. I'm going to trade him away. No, you don't know that. No one knows that. He doesn't know that. It's only Wednesday, and this is the first practice report of the week. You're overreacting. There's another question here, very similar. With the vetoes. So the league vetoed this following trade in a 10-team full-point PPR league. I have the best team in the league, and adding Saquon would have obviously been great for me, and I have ridiculous depth. So losing Robert Woods is meaningless, while it would be one of the other team's best wide receivers. So he traded Saquon Barkley and the Rams defense for Robert Woods and J.D. McKissic. Again, you see the name Barkley, and people are obviously going to be like, "What? That's way unfair of a trade." It's Saquon Barkley. Barkley hasn't done shit. He hasn't played, and I know this all too well because he's on multiple teams of mine. So again, that's point number 1. Point number 2: this is not lopsided clearly at all. In my mind, Pat, do you think it is?
Not really. I think because Barkley's hurt and he hasn't shown that he's going to be healthy this season, I think it's fair.
Yeah. Like, if this was Dynasty or Keeper, maybe there's more of an argument, but I still would never veto this trade. There's no ill intention by either league owner or team owner. So that's the only time you should veto. And then this is kind of funny, Pat. This sounds like something that you've done or would do. So do you consider it tanking if a team has no chance to make playoffs and they build a themed team? Even if all the trades are fair, for example, someone's building an all Packers team.
I think it's fair. Why not?
That's funny. Yeah, fuck it. I think that's funny. If it's a redraft league at that point, who cares? If all the trades are fair and they're just tanking, it doesn't impact anything. Now, if this was, again, Keeper Dynasty, where the position they finish in has an impact on the draft next year, then maybe you start to limit it. But again, there's ways around this, right? Implement a trade deadline before it's possible to know if someone's making playoffs or not. And 2, the way we kind of get around the tanking thing is the top 4 teams, they have the last 4 picks. The other half, the bottom 4 teams, it is random who gets the draft order. That's kind of how we get around it. So even if you are in the bottom half, you still only have 1/4 of a chance to get the first pick. That's just kind of how we get around it. Let's jump into some start-sit questions. Let's go quarterback first. Derek Carr versus Kansas City or Russell Wilson at Green Bay. So obviously if Russ doesn't play, you're not playing him, but let's assume both these guys are healthy, Pat.
I think I'm going to still take Derek Carr because I think the Chiefs' defense is worse. And I think theoretically they should be playing from behind. I don't think it will be, but I think of the two, I think Derek Carr has a better matchup.
Shit. I hate this. I'm with you. I think Derek Carr's. I think he's leading the league in passing yards right now. But yeah, I agree with you. Russ might not be 100%, but 75% Russ is better than 100% Geno. So yeah, I'll start Carr over Wilson in this situation. Dak Prescott against Atlanta or Justin Herbert, who just had a monster game last week against Minnesota. I took Dak in my DFS lineup. I do like Dak. And honestly, if you have both of these as your options, trade one of them. But this week, I'm going to roll with Justin Herbert. It seems like every team Minnesota plays, the opposing quarterback has a fantastic game. Lamar just had a great game. That seems to be a trend. Justin Herbert seems to be back in it. He put up over 30 points last week. I'm going to roll with Herbert, but honestly, I don't think there's a wrong decision.
No, I agree. I think I'm going to roll with Herbert too. I think it's going to be the higher scoring of the two games, and I think he's going to have not the better defense to play against, but I'm going to take the hotter guy against the comparable team in that sense.
So, 6-point passing touchdown league. I don't know if that's going to change your mind here, but Kyler Murray, given he's healthy, or Justin Herbert, who we just talked about?
I still think I'm going to take Justin Herbert. I think he's going to pass the ball more, even if Kyler plays.
Yeah, I think Arizona handles the Panthers pretty easily, and they're not going to have to work nearly as hard. And I think the 6-point per passing touchdown is just more of a bump in Herbert's favor. Like you said, he'll pass the ball more. Eckler isn't really the type of running back that can be an end zone guy. He's my size, and 5'7", 5'8". We're not the type of guys you put in on the goal line. Doesn't work too well. He's even admitted that. Whereas Arizona, Connor's been doing it all season. He'll just run that one in. And I don't think Kyler's going to be doing a lot of rushing. His first game back off the injury. So, yep, I'm with you, Herbert, yet again. This is an easy one. Hurts at Denver or Mike White versus Buffalo. It's Hurts. That's not a question.
Okay.
This one is a question. Are you going to start Mike White?
Because you did that, yes.
Okay. All right. Pick him up. I'm forcing that. That's a league rule now. I'm going to tell Brad.
Okay. I'll do it right now.
This one is a decent question here. Given Kyler starts, him or Jalen Hurts?
Ooh.
I
gotta think about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll start. I think I'm gonna take Hurts. Let's look at some of the matchup statistics. So if we're looking, he's playing Denver. Denver is very good against the quarterback. They've allowed the 5th fewest points to the quarterback position. But Jalen Hurts isn't a normal quarterback. He's not going to be passing a ton. He gets a lot of work done on his feet. So I think he can scramble and pick up a lot of points that way. And then on the other side with Kyler, if he's not 100%, he isn't going to be scrambling. They might work James Conner quite a bit more. And like I said, I think they handle Carolina pretty easily, so they're not going to overwork Kyler. And there's a chance he re-aggravates his injury, or they get enough ahead they're like, okay, we don't want to hurt you anymore, and they'll put in the backup. So I think I lean Hurts.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was looking at Carolina's defensive statistics, and I just don't trust a freshly off the injured report Kyler Murray to excel. I think they'll both do well, but I think Jalen Hurts has the better potential to score more points, especially because I would like to think Arizona would beat up on the Panthers. Maybe Kyler, like you said, shouldn't have to play as much as he needs to.
Mm-hmm. All right, swapping over to the running back position, a full-point PPR league. J.D. McKissic or Devonta Freeman, who would be playing Thursday night?
I think you said J.D. McKissic and Devonta Freeman.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's a close one. The full-point PPR definitely helps out McKissic. He's been getting a lot of the targets. Let's see here. J.D. McKissic got over 20% of the targets the last time they played. 16 the week before, 15 the week before that. Full point PPR, that really helps him out. The thing we got to remember with Baltimore is even though like Latavius is hurt and everything, Devonta Freeman may be the running back one in the running back position, but their real running back one is Lamar Jackson. So I think I go McKissic here, especially in full PPR.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. If Devonta Freeman was the only running back on Baltimore, I'd say him based on matchup, but he's not. He has way more competition than McKissic does.
And another Devonta Freeman question here. Half-point PPR this time, but Devonta Freeman against Miami on Thursday, Jordan Howard against Denver, or Jeremy McNichols against New Orleans. So in this situation, I think Freeman gets the most work out of the three of them. So I think I have to take Freeman here.
Yeah, I agree with that. We've already seen McNichols isn't going to do anything. So he's automatically out. And I don't know. I think Freeman has the best matchup of the three.
Yeah, Jordan Howard can, fall in for a touchdown, but he's not getting any other work besides goal line. And Denver's already difficult for that, so yeah.
Yeah.
Freeman seems to be the move there. Half-point PPR pick 2. Damian Harris against Cleveland, Javonte Williams against Philadelphia, Michael Carter against Buffalo. I think you have to sit Michael Carter, even though he looked great the last time they played. Buffalo is going to be a difficult matchup for him. And Mike White under center again. That's a tough one. I think you sit Carter.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think of the three, he has the worst matchup. And I think I told you, Javonte Williams should have a good opportunity to get some points here. So I think that Michael Carter, based off of the fact that he's playing the Bills, is going to have the hardest time.
Next one here, half-point PPR, Tony Pollard or Myles Gaskin. You got to start the starter, right?
Oh, for sure.
And Gaskin's look good. In any form of PPR, he seems to be getting quite a few targets with Tua back. So I like Gaskin here. Pollard has fallen off. There were the first 3 weeks where everyone's like, oh, Pollard's going to replace Zeke. That obviously didn't happen. Zeke is Zeke. And he's just the backup now. All right, last running back question here. Let's make it a big one here. Half-point PPR, pick 3. So James Robinson against Indy, Fournette against Washington, D'Ernest against New England, Melvin Gordon against Philly, Elijah Mitchell against the Rams, or Adrian Peterson against the Saints. So the question really is injuries. If James Robinson is healthy, I'm playing him. Fournette, I think, is the only lock here. And then D'Ernest only plays if Chubb doesn't. So those would be my 3, but they're all conditional. Now let's pretend Chubb is in. I think I would then start. Oh, man. I think I would then start Melvin Gordon, but that's very close.
Yeah, I agree. I think James Robinson needs to play if he's going to start. I think I'm going to take. I don't want to, but I think Adrian Peterson's probably going to have good opportunities against the Saints. So I think I'm going to take him as my number 2. And in number 3, I'd like to think Leonard Fournette bounces back. I don't trust the Ernest Johnson. He had one good game. Melvin Gordon's okay, and Elijah Mitchell hasn't shown me anything. So I think my 3 are going to be Robinson, Fournette, and Peterson.
Yeah, I was very, very close to taking AP. I think he does take a step forward in the Tennessee offense now being there an extra week. Yeah, that one's just super close for me. All right, our last position here is with the wide receivers. Full point PPR, Mike Williams against Minnesota, Hunter Renfrow against Kansas City, Jalen Waddle against Baltimore on Thursday, or Rashard Bateman against Miami also on Thursday. So to me, Pat, it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a safe floor, I think Renfrow is the move as their new wide receiver 1. But if you're looking for a high ceiling, that's Mike Williams. You know, he could put up 40 points in a 4-point PPR league.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think until further notice, it depends on what your status is, right? So if you're looking for the guy to just guarantee you to have points in the league, you're going to take Renfrow. But like you said, hit or miss is going to be Mike Williams. If it's me, I'm not trusting Mike Williams yet. I'm going to probably take Renfrow and just guarantee myself the points and hope that other people on my team go off.
Then another full point PPR, tougher one. So Jalen Waddle and Rashard Bateman also in this one, but they're including Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk has been so hit and miss. I have him on one of my teams. He does well when I bench him. So I'll tell you what, I'll bench him this week and he'll probably get 20 points. So there you go. But in reality, I think it's Jalen Waddle. I think they're going to have to pass the ball here quite a bit to keep up with Lamar and the Ravens.
Yeah, I agree with that. And he's been fairly good when he's been called upon. So I think that's a good choice.
And then pick 2, half-point PPR, Cole Beasley against the Jets, Jarvis Landry against New England, or Rashard Bateman against Miami Thursday. I think I like Bateman, but then the question is, who am I sitting for him? Patriots are very good at taking away your number 1 option. That is now Jarvis Landry. I don't like Baker. I think I'm going Bateman and Beasley.
Yeah, I'd take that as well, but Cole Beasley's listed as questionable. So as long as he plays, I would stick with that group too.
Gotcha. A lot of Bateman, a lot of the same guys in here. So let's just kind of stick with it. So Rashard Bateman on Thursday night or Brandon Ayuk. You can go first on this one. This is rough.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think for me, I'm gonna take Rashard Bateman based off of matchup. I haven't been super impressed with him. I haven't been super impressed with Brandon Ayuk, but I'm gonna take the guy who's not playing the Rams defense.
Yeah. I like Bateman. Obviously, they had a lot of faith in him, drafting him in the first round. And once he came back healthy, he immediately got targets and got involved. I think him and Hollywood. I'm not saying Baltimore is turning into a passing team, but definitely having Bateman there helps a lot. So I like him here. The comment here says, consider Watkins coming into the lineup. He may cut into Bateman's targets. Fuck that. Sammy Watkins is a bum. Half-point PPR, Stephon Diggs or Mike Evans. Little note here that we talked about early. Godwin might not play. So let's pretend Godwin is healthy and plays. Diggs or Evans?
I'm going to take Diggs. I think he has a better matchup, and I don't trust Mike Evans at all, regardless of who's playing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking Diggs. Slightly different reason. I just think he's better offense, better matchup. I almost said better quarterback. That's
He is a better quarterback.
Okay. Yeah. But I don't mind Mike Evans. I just don't see him. He's boom bust to me. I know they're in a very high volume passing offense, but if he's the only healthy wide receiver, so again, let's say if Godwin isn't playing, all they got to do is double team him, and then he has a terrible game. So I'll take Diggs against the Jets. Kind of similar players here, but full point PPR: Cole Beasley or Hunter Renfrow. I like Renfrow. I think Kansas City is a easier matchup.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that Cole Beasley, in terms of, if you're going to pick the backup wide receiver or the starter, he's not going to see as much volume. So I'm going to take Renfrow as well.
Full point PPR: Russell Gage at Dallas or Rashard Bateman at Miami. We just talked about Bateman. I like Russell Gage. He's the wide receiver one. I expect this game to be high scoring. We talked about it already. He got 8 targets, caught 7 of them last week. Full point PPR, I'll take Gage.
Yeah, I agree with you on that 100%.
All right, finally some different players. So full point PPR: Hollywood Brown this Thursday against Miami or DJ Moore against Arizona. So no Darnold. Fun fact though, PJ gave DJ Moore one of his best games whenever they played. I believe it was last year. That's close, Pat. Who do you got?
I think I'm going to take Hollywood Brown.
Man. I agree with you. 100%, actually. Him and Lamar have been clicking this season very well. Last year, it really wasn't happening, but they've figured each other out, and it's showing. So I'll take Hollywood as well. Then let's end it on another pick 3, full point PPR: DK Metcalf, possibly with Russell Wilson returning, AJ Brown against the Saints, Deontay Johnson against Detroit, or Hollywood Brown against the Dolphins. You want to go first?
Yeah, I think the guy I'm going to sit in that situation, and I hate to say it, is going to be Deontay, just because I don't trust the Steelers' pass game against Detroit. Ooh. I know I said that Ben's going to have a good game, and it's not that I don't trust him to do well. He picks and chooses who's going to throw the ball to. I can't guarantee that Deontay is going to be the guy who's going to get a lot of volume, especially against the Lions, where I think that a lot of the passing is going to go to Najee. So I think that's going to be the guy that I'm going to sit.
Does it change your mind at all that Chase Claypool's likely out?
No. He's been irrelevant to me all year.
Yeah, that's fair. Man. Okay. For me, it's between DK and Deontay. Deontay for slightly different reasons. I think he will get a decent amount of volume. A decent percentage of targets, I should say. But I think the overall volume is going to be low. Mostly because I expect them to beat Detroit pretty good, where they can just hand off the ball to Najee. Hopefully just Najee and not Snell or Ballage, but hand it off to a running back and kind of run this clock out. I feel like we're not going to need to pass the ball a ton, and that really limits Deontay's upside. And then my thought on DK is if Russell's back, I guess that's an upgrade from Geno, but if Russell still isn't himself, I don't expect DK to kind of go off like he could, because DK's whole game is long bomb, amazing catches. I don't expect that to be happening a lot. And also Green Bay's defense has been pretty good. I think I'm going to start Brown, Deontay, and Hollywood in this situation. I think out of those four, I think I'm most confident in AJ Brown. Who would be your one here, Pat?
I agree with that as well, especially in this game where we've seen that Derrick Henry's out. Obviously, I think AJ Brown's the guy who should get the most volume.
So that'll do it for this fantasy episode. Thanks for watching. I'm going to be putting up a DFS lineup episode here Friday, like I always do. And then a quick update about the app. We got rejected from the App Store, Pat. Not
You've
because
been canceled.
yeah, they heard Alex. Or no, they heard your little ad read you had at the last episode. Yeah, so we got rejected. Not because the app was poorly made or anything, but they didn't think it did enough. They wanted more features. They weren't happy that all it did was give free, amazing DFS lineups to make people money, as well as machine learning model picks and our picks. That wasn't enough for them. So I'm going to look to add additional features. The features I'm looking to add are the ability to listen to our podcast from the app. And also, I had designed another app last year for football weather, and it will give you information about every game, about the weather, and then how it will impact certain players. So, if a game's going to be very gusty, knock down your quarterbacks a little bit in that game. So those are the features I'm going to look to add, and then hopefully we get approved.
Yeah, if you want to go to our website and donate to our class action lawsuit against Apple, because this is complete fucking bullshit, you can donate in multiples of 20. That would be great. And also add an additional $1 in case we have to get taxed. So you can do that from our website. There's a little coffee cup. Just please go ahead and donate to that to us, and we will be going against Apple in a class action lawsuit to get our app onto their store.
We'd really appreciate that. We'll join forces with Epic. They already have been suing Apple. We would only make their case stronger, given how much attention we would get. So look for that on C-SPAN right after the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Anyways, so to kind of make up for that, I'll post more lineups for free rather than just the original 3. Maybe it'll be 5, maybe it'll be 10. Who knows? But I'll post more lineups than I usually do to make up for that. But if you want to do some prop betting, we make it easy with Monkey Knife Fight. Click our link in the bottom. Your first deposit is matched 100% instantly up to $100.
Yeah, if you want to give your dog some cool treats and toys, click our link below and you'll get a free month of BarkBox.
That'll do it. I'll have the DFS episode coming out Friday, and Pat will be doing the Injury Report podcast